excuse me while I whip this out.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
Straight across Lake Washington from the VMAC as the Hawk flies in the We the Fans Internet Media Network studio, commonly and secretly called the Bunker, as perpetuated by the Gas Man, on a Seahawks Blue Friday night, which, according to 4th and 20 Club, is now Blue and Green Friday, to kick off the process of whipping the mythical, magical, and undeniable spirit of the 12th man into his play-altering state for the Seattle Seahawks on game day. This is the Hawk and Roll Hysteria podcast, and we're just gonna go blue. I'm the DJ and the point man of the Fans Revolution, with longtime internet sports show host, The Insider, Steve Silver, and at the helm of the Hawk and Roll Hysteria podcast on video, navigating the choppy waters of the World Wide Web after a decade on sports radio, the former pilot of Chopper 950, the Captain, Brian Apker. Let's rock and roll, you guys.
Love it. Hawk and Roll Hysteria.
Yes.
How about it, fellas? Hawks get the win that they much needed, and on top of that, the cherry on the sundae, the shutout. The shutout. It was beautiful. I mean, people will say, hey, it's really tough to get a win in the NFL. Every win should be treasured, and I agree to some extent, but there are teams out there like the Lions and the Jaguars of years past that didn't even deserve to be in the NFL, that every team was going to beat just about. The Bears aren't one of them, but a shutout, that's pretty special, and the Hawks got it. So, do you guys feel better about this team than you did going into that game?
You know, I already know what you're going to say. I mean, this is...
Then why don't you say it for me?
I will. Okay, yeah. Okay, listen. I'm a little... Don't
know what
get
I'm
me
going
wrong.
to say.
For everything that you just said, of course I'm feeling a little salty. I gotta be honest, seriously. I mean, this was the game where you can just make sure everything is right. You can run up a score. You can roll over on the Chicago Bears. You had Jimmy Clausen in your house. Mm-hmm. You literally had the sorriest team. And now, granted, I've seen sorry NFL teams in the past. The Lions team that went 0-16. Now, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay. This was even worse.
Buccaneers team.
Okay, right. This was worse, and you had them in your house, the home opener, a good opportunity just to put up a crooked number. Just put up a crazy crooked number, and the second half, fine, that's great. The first half, you're just kind of like, you do realize the Bears are in the house.
So
right?
you do not feel better then? Is that what you're saying?
I really wish they would have taken advantage of everything that the Chicago Bears gave them in the first half. Only managed one first down the entire first half against a defense that was really just giving you opportunities after opportunities after opportunities. I just wish they would have just taken advantage and seized it and just punched them right in the mouth.
Dave, why don't you straighten this kid out?
All right.
Man.
I know, it was a win, right? I get it. It was a win. It was a shot. I get it. I just wish I would have seen thunder, man. I wish I would have just seen just a backyard beatdown. That's all I wanted to see.
Yeah, I listened to you. You're very astute about how the NFL works. You know it doesn't always work like that, man. We ended last week's Hawk and Roll Hysteria talking about the power of the Hawks' home field advantage by way of the 12th man. And on the first play of the 2015 Seattle Seahawks season at Seahawks Stadium, delay a game, right? Clock hadn't moved, full 15 seconds on the board. And so they went on, of course, pitch a shutout. But the Bears, to your point, pitched a little bit of a shutout of their own by shutting the Seahawks out of the end zone that first half. But, that's Seahawks football. We may as well just get used to it, man. That's how we've seen this team play week in, week out, year in, for the last few years. But I'm with you, man. A shutout is a shutout is a shutout. And I don't care if it's the Chicago Bears, man. They're not like in the AFL. They're not in the USFL. They're in the NFL.
So here's why I feel better than I did going into the weekend. A, you pitch that shutout. That's difficult to do against any team.
Thank you.
That shows that your defense is starting to really feel their way. You had Cam Chancellor back. He is back in the fold. That makes me feel better.
Makes me feel
better,
so
much better.
Yes, sir.
The next thing is that they went and got the ball to Jimmy Graham right away.
Right.
It's obvious they want to get him involved in the offense. He can't block. We've seen that. You got to use the skills that he has, which is catching the ball. They're going to try to do that. So now I'm more confident in what the offense will do going forward. The offensive line was terrible before the game, during the game, and after the game. And it's going to take a while, but I think we will see this offensive line improve as we go. I really do. How good they're going to be, I have no idea, but I think they'll improve. Russell Wilson, that offense, very stale. Is it because Marshawn Lynch wasn't able to be out there? Rawls had 100 yards. He looked pretty good. He's a mini beast mode, in my opinion. He runs really tough, really hard, has a little bit of jitterbug. It's going to be fun to watch him. I feel better. I personally feel better going into Monday Night Football against the Lions.
The only reprieve that I have is that you're going into another game where you actually have another opportunity to improve in multitudes of areas. You're absolutely right. Defensively speaking, I think the Seahawks showed the best cohesion since we saw last year in the playoffs, and I think that's fantastic. The one thing that I really just didn't like was, and you mentioned it was the offensive line play. This week, Drew Nowak got better. I thought Drew Nowak looked night and day better than we saw the last 2 weeks, but J.R. Sweezy and Justin Britt were just burned time after time again. Now, I asked myself, does this have correlation with Russell Wilson? And from what I perceive as being, maybe a step too slow, is it because he's under duress constantly? Is it just a multitude of different things? Is it has to do with the correlation of the offensive line play, or is it maybe he's just not necessarily Russell Wilson himself? That's yet to be seen. But the thing about this is it's just too much regression for me. I mean, especially against a team where we're looking at this right now. I look at this and say to myself, well, wait a second. Now you have a team that has just different areas of different areas of concerns. They were there here at Central League Field, but they weren't really ready to play. They weren't really ready to win. You had an opportunity just to really just impose your physical will, and it was just you just had deficiencies all up and down.
You imposed your will on defense. You imposed your will on special teams. It's the offense that's lacking. It's the offense that we were concerned with going into the season. Where were we going to get the wide receiving core together from? Was Matthews going to be able to do what he did in the Super Bowl? Your tight end situation, everybody thought, okay, that's going to be the huge red zone target that we've been looking for. It hasn't. It's slow. It's going to take the offense a little bit of time to ramp up. Offense always takes longer, Commando, to get going than defense does, because you're taking action, you're executing plays. Defense, you're reacting and you're being athletes, you're playing. And the Hawks definitely have those athletes on defense, even though they've got a few deficiencies, but not many. Nothing that's glaring, nothing that's going to hold them back. I don't know that they'll be a record-setting defense, Commando, like they have been the last couple of years, but they're going to be good enough to get your team to the Super Bowl if your offense starts to click.
That's what I say. And then on top of that, at least in the instant wham, bam, thank you, ma'am era of sliding a pick on your phone, it's just kind of refreshing that the Seahawks offense just kind of likes to hold hands, and get to know a defense a little bit before, trying to get into the end zone. You know what I'm saying? It's,
you just want to, you want to wine and dine them a little bit before you just kind of go,
Hey, look.
Before you slide it in, you just want to make sure that the moment's right.
Make them feel good.
It's a feel good.
That starts with the offensive line, I guess. Going back to what you said, Captain, and the Bears, they had 0 sacks when they got to Seattle. They left town with 4.
A whole bucket full of them.
Yeah, I'm not liking that at all. And 2 of them were back to back.
Here's what I don't get. You've got Marshawn Lynch, arguably one of the best running backs in the league, unless he's falling off the 30-year-old cliff, which he may be. But up until now, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You've got a quarterback who you want to bank your future on that you just paid a lot of money. How is it that you do not invest in a big-time free agent or make sure that was a priority in the draft to get that offensive line? And not only that, you trade away your best offensive line for a tight end. It boggles my mind. If you go out and buy a nice car, what are you going to do? You're going to protect it. You're going to either park it in your garage, you're going to buy a car cover for it, you're going to protect your investment. And they haven't done that with Russell Wilson.
Well, the way that Tom Cable and the way that the Seahawks look at the offensive line, it's a plug-and-play max protect scheme where you don't necessarily need to invest big dollars in veteran free agents or even use those type of resources on college offensive linemen, just considering the way that they look at the college. They really don't believe that there's those type of athletes available in college, just the way the game is played. So you can literally take defensive linemen, especially if they show good footwork or good athletic ability, and you can just plug and play and develop. I mean, that's just the way that they always believe that. My issue is just simple, and we say this all the time in college football, and especially just a couple weeks ago when your Washington Huskies were playing a team like Sacramento State, or when we play a team like Wyoming. This is a perfect opportunity on the schedule against a team that you can beat 15 times out of 15 times. One hand tied behind your back and with a blindfold. You just know that you're that talented. This is an opportunity where you can just get right. You don't need it to be sexy. You just want to see 4 quarters of just solid football. There's no excuse for giving a sorry team like the Chicago Bears 4 sacks. You don't have to be sexy. You just can't be you can't be deficient in certain areas. You just have to be mediocre.
I think we saw a little bit of improvement though. Commando, did we not, on that offensive line? Just an eyelash?
A tad bit, but when you say, Captain, the old line sucks but can improve, I think you mean sucks but gotta improve fast.
Well, I don't know that it's going to improve fast. It takes
I know, but that's what you
got
mean,
a lot of young guys on there.
I
You
know
got a
that.
better convert from defense to offense. Here's the deal, though. People were like, I know there were many people in the media last year, they're like, why are people worried about the line? They set records rushing. They had a record rushing day in Cardinalsville. First of all, when you run the zone running scheme, that is an opportunity for running back to pick between holes. You, as a blocker, you can miss your guy and somebody else will have a shield where you can get around. So I don't judge by the run game.
Right.
I judge by the pass protection and how many times your quarterback is scrambling for his life.
Right.
How many times, let's say Russell Wilson scrambled for his life 10 times. Probably 3 of those times it's his fault. Holding onto the ball too long, not doing the right thing, or running up into a sack himself. The other 7 times, 70% of the times, it's your offensive line. That's way too much. Way too much.
No, and I agree with that. And baseline, especially with just the way that this offensive line built, you want to see Thomas Rawls, get a buck, 16 carries for a $104 against a pathetic defense. At least at the baseline, you know that these guys can at least run protect. But when I see, we're not even talking about exotic blitz packages at the Bears. I mean, we're talking about straight bull rushes off the
Right.
corners. And guys like J.R. Sweezy and Justin Britt that are getting routinely burnt by mediocre defensive linemen, you're just kind of looking at yourself like, ugh. It's like this. This is basic fundamental blocking 101. I mean, you keep your body in front of your defender, and it just seems to me that it was a regression, especially at the guard play, and you kind of wonder exactly why Jean-Pierre was let go. Don't get me wrong, I understand that he's not exactly the greatest, but I mean at this point in time, especially with some deficiency, if you want to make a change, the only guy that you have in your cabinet is Alvin Bailey at this point.
Yeah,
So
I think it was his health, his physical ability. Probably he couldn't do it anymore. I think that's why. And that's why they released him the first time, and they made that injury settlement with him and brought him back. It's a shame. He's not like Robbie Toback. He's not one of those guys that can be small and just.
He's not the greatest dude in the world, but at least he's not going to put yourself in a position where you have to constantly look behind your shoulder.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing now.
He's steady enough. He's steady enough where at least you have some type of confidence.
Yeah, I just think physically he couldn't do it anymore. So what we did see, Thomas Rawls. Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I feel better because Thomas Rawls showed us something in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Michael maybe had some neat jukes when he was here, but in the end, he wasn't going to do it. Robert Turbin was fine, but he didn't have the potential.